I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so for roll call, our chairman, Frank Lito, isn't here. I believe that's the only person. Okay, anything about the consent calendar? Nope. Otherwise, I'm passing the consent calendar unanimously. Anything about the communications? No. Okay, public participation. Does anybody wish to participate publicly? Seeing no one. I don't think there are any appointments for tonight. So for action items, A, Town Council Committee on Finance, Education, Health, and Public Safety Matters. I think actually that's Mr. Rooney, correct?
Yes, it is. We have not met, Mrs. Chairman.
Okay. So for B, Town Council Committee on Planning and Zoning, Public Works and Parks and Recreation matter. Planning and zoning, the meeting the other night was basically what we discussed 2 weeks ago, except now they've approved all of the things that we discussed 2 weeks ago. In other words, the Monroe Turnpike Limited Office Retail Special Exception Permit, proposed coordinated site development plan for a new commercial center, Town Line Plaza, 2 proposed abutting lots consisting of 4 separate commercial buildings. It'll be a Noble gas station, a retail convenience store, restaurant, drive-through service window, standalone restaurant, and all that approval's been granted by P&Z with the following conditions: DOT approval, Health Department approval, no audio or video systems on the gas pumps, 4 grade and setback waivers were issued. And then going on to 574 Monroe Turnpike, that's the former Goodwill property. So that's a proposed internal division of an existing vacant building into 2 tenant spaces, with 1 space seeking a change of use from general retail to liquor store. Approval granted with the following conditions: address, staff, administrative comments. It's address, staff, administrative comments. For Pepper Street, 485 Pepper, approval granted with the following conditions: sound attenuation, study and monitoring, storage container doors to be closed when not in use, sweeping up a lot daily, and 10 Victoria Drive, which is the big recycling place. Approval granted with the following conditions: sound attenuation study and monitoring, signage to be installed on Victoria Drive to prohibit trucks from excessive brake noise. Trucks used in the business must be equipped with flashing lights instead of noise-based backing arms. DEP permit to be submitted. Further reduction in impervious surface. Roof will not be galvanized, will have a pavement finish. Evergreen trees and air and water quality studies will be conducted by the state and then submitted to the commission. Okay, next, the commission, the Conservation Commission met, and they only discussed a few things. John Kimball came to the meeting and he inquired as to whether a theory had been developed regarding open space acquisition. He feels that open space acquisition has been a reactive and expensive process. Chairman Bernasca responded that the commission is currently reviewing a land evaluation process in order to develop a list of priority properties. And basically, open space, the commission reviewed a draft of the subdivision regulation text amendment, open space, and they're going to request P&Z to include the following at the end of section 111-303. The Monroe Conservation and Water Resources Commission shall serve in an advisory capacity to the P&Z Commission on all areas under consideration that are deemed open space. Then they discussed POCD. The last was 2010, so we'll be hearing more about that because it's every 10 years, so 2020 is going to be the next POCD. And then Park and Rec, the recreation program, First Selectman Kellogg will assist M. Oros in securing the gym at St. Jude's for basketball and other programs. The gym is needed Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 5:30 to 9, and Saturdays 8:15 to 4:30. St. Jude's proposed a rental fee of $1,500 per month for the gym, with Parks and Recs being responsible for maintenance. Negotiations are in the works to reduce the fee. And then Ms. Oros attended a party at the park last week. Food trucks set up at this event will also work well at summer concerts. Ms. Oros and P. Rossiter met with Pete Thornton, who is a Special Needs Student Parent Association, to discuss offering adaptive programming to special needs children. It may be possible to offer programs such as open swim, dodgeball, family dance once per month, with the first one hopefully in December. And due to timing issues, there was not a fall brochure. I like everybody else, got a postcard with program information. The cost of the postcard mailing is $2,500 versus $7,000 for brochure mailing. And when I saw the postcard, there were some things that interested me, so I just went to the www and saw the programs. So maybe they should consider that for the future. Web Mountain Park map was updated as part of an Eagle Scout project. Discuss possibly increasing cost of camping permit, given that maintenance provides firewood, picnic tables, and fire rings. Ms. Orzos is going to find out what other camping grounds charge, and we'll discuss with First Selectman. And work on the field is now on hold due to bids coming in higher than expected. Town engineer Scott Schatzline and TPA contacted the 4 contractors that submitted bids to determine how they came up with their pricing. Work on the auxiliary parking lot is at a standstill. If the field project moves forward, then the parking lot project needs to be done, since the fields cannot be used without the completed parking lot project. So that's basically what I have to say. Going on to see Town Council Committee on Legislative and Administrative Matters. Mr. Reed?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chairman. We had a meeting just now, and we have 4 items on the agenda tonight. We had all of them pass. We can talk you through them if needed, and we also have some folks in the audience that can bring us through 2 of those topics. So look forward to that.
Okay, great. Strategic Planning Committee?
We have not met, but we're scheduled to meet 10/23 at 4 o'clock.
Okay, EMS Building Committee?
Have not met, but we'll be meeting in November.
Okay, Fire Services Study Committee?
Meeting on 10/11. The report's been handed out to be reviewed, and
This is what?
this is
I got?
the ESCI fire study.
Okay, and this is mine. All right, First Selectmen's update?
Thank you, Mr. Pellis. Just one item I want to just share is that, as you know, from our storm experience, one of the things we struggle with is some of the information that we have available to us through Eversource, and kind of an exciting topic that they had mentioned to us and is now, they're telling us is coming to fruition, that they're going to be launching a new map. For those of you who use the current map on Eversource, it's an interactive thing where you can, right now all you can do is kind of click on Monroe and see the total number of outages. They're going to be expanding that so you can drill down to each specific outage event, more granular, how many outages, what the reason of the outage is, if it's known, estimated time of restoration on the map, etc. So it's scheduled around October 11th. I just heard after I printed these that it may be the 12th, but you guys kind of get the idea. It's coming soon in a week or so. We should have some better information for future events. And it will be publicly, as the existing map is, it's publicly facing, so anyone can access it.
That's it?
That's all for tonight.
Okay.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Through you, could I ask Mr. Condon, the fire services study on the 11th?
On the 11th,
On
correct.
the 11th, here and what time?
I believe it's 4 o'clock here.
4 o'clock here? Yes? Thanks.
Is that
But
okay?
it's,
Okay, so we have no unfinished business. We're going on to new business. A, resolution regarding behavioral health consultants, LLC employee assistance agreement. So I will introduce the following resolution. Resolution regarding behavioral health consultants, LLC employee assistance program agreement, and move for its adoption. Resolved that Kenneth M. Kellogg, First Selectman of the Town of Monroe, is authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the Town of Monroe the employee associated documents by and between Behavioral Health Consultants, LLC, for the Employee Assistance Program. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Reed. So discussion, Mr. Reed, you mentioned it's been passed, but we can discuss it.
It's been passed.
Well, not passed, but they approved it. LNA approved it.
No, that's fine. I mean, I know Ms. Lombardi's here to discuss it, but this is a similar thing we've had before. We take advantage of it quite a bit. It's managed by Ms. Lombardi in the HR position. We heard we're shifting to a new company. I guess we've used them in the past, but it seems to, pass all the muster from at least an LNA perspective. Ms. Lombardi, I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
So this is a program that we've had in effect for as long as I've been here, and it's available to employees and family members, as well as the services for referrals for things like financial planning and attorneys and things like that. We've worked with them in the past. They've been a very good fit for our population. And in addition, they also provide training programs which we've utilized in the past for things such as sexual harassment and diversity training. So we'll be entering into a new contract with them.
Okay.
And it is in our packet if there's any questions.
Yep. Any other discussion? Mrs.
I
Martin?
have a question. I'll go to Mr. Reed. It says it's similar to the last one, in this particular.
Yep.
The one you reviewed was for the police department. Their needs are different than ours, but the contract is the same.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
anybody
you.
else? So, all in favor of this resolution? So it passes 8-0, am I correct? Okay, going on to B, resolution regarding MetroCog Professional Services Agreement, GIS Services Open Space Mapping. So I will introduce the following resolution. Resolution regarding MetroCog Professional Services Agreement for GIS Services associated with Open Space Mapping and move for its adoption. Resolved that Kenneth M. Kellogg, First Selectman of the Town of Monroe, is authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the Town of Monroe the professional services agreements and any associated documents by and between MetroCog for the GIS services associated with open space mapping. So to hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Condon. Discussion? Mr. Reed or Mrs.
I think Mr.
Lombardi?
Kellogg will bring up the next two.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, as you'll recall from the capital, the process during which we reviewed capital budget items for this fiscal year, this was an item that we discussed and was agreed upon to include in the plan this year. The funding is already outlined in the capital plan for the fiscal year and was captured through allocation of funds that were designated for open space activities. This effort is very important for us to have a proper inventory of open space, including easements and similar types of parcels. We are currently, as you mentioned earlier, going to be endeavoring to complete our 10-year plan of conservation and development, and it's a significant component of that. And it's also significant for us, as you referenced earlier, the Conservation Commission. I've asked them to formulate an open space plan and policy as relates to criteria for open space and prioritization of acquisition of open space. And you can't really, that's one piece of the puzzle, but you really need to understand your existing inventory to know how those priorities fit into the greater picture. And going forward, when we have opportunities to either, basically parcels that we may have that have no strategic value to the town that private property owners may be interested in, that's important to understand how that fits in, and the reverse side when there's parcels that people may want to acquire. So it's an important project for those reasons, and I would encourage us to move forward. So as far as utilizing MetroCog, I don't think I need to explain our reasons behind using MetroCog. They are the GIS subject matter experts that we utilize for developing these layers, and it's a perfect use of our GIS system in this regard. So that said, I'd strongly encourage we move forward.
Any other discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yep, Mrs. Aguilar.
Mr. Kellogg, with what Ms. LaPella said earlier, now will you let that board know that because it was a little confusing to hear that with knowing this was coming up, that they were going to do something with the open space?
So these are separate yet very complementary items.
Okay. So this will be done first?
Right, so there's always been, at least since I've been in office, some discussion around the town's appetite for acquiring open space, right? And the challenge that, as I see it, is that we don't have, we don't really have a process whereby we have evaluation criteria of what we're looking for, and we haven't also prioritized anything out there in terms of okay, now that we know what we're looking for, what are areas that we would like to explore, so that if opportunities present themselves, we at least know we have some idea as a town what we're looking to pursue. So I've asked the Conservation Commission to work on that,
Okay,
which they're actively working on. They're starting with the first part, what is the evaluation criteria? So that's what they've been working on. They've made some progress in that regard. Along with that, even prior to my asking them to do that, they had approached me a while back. It was prior to the budget process leading up to the current year budget, with this idea of utilizing a GIS layer to have an inventory that would be, fully mapped in our GIS system of existing inventory of open space,
okay.
which is what we have right now is kind of on paper. And, it's just, it's a perfect utilization of GIS. So
Okay.
it would be important for us to have that.
Okay, thank you.
And she'd send me an email before the meeting, Mrs. Benaska, saying, gee, she hoped that we pass this. So now I'll send her an email back later saying we do. Assuming that we do in a second. Mr.
One
Bauer?
comment.
I just have some questions on Schedule A, the cost and schedule. I see that it includes the activities 1, 4, and 5, but activities 2 and 3 are parenthetical, don't have exact costs. Are those additional costs that are estimated, or those that we don't have an exact cost, or are those broken out and included, but they are not included in the totals? The totals are only for...
Right, so this schedule is to fully create the GIS layer for that. My understanding, and again, if you want to get some specifics, I can certainly, we can get someone on the phone to talk to the specifics relative to that. But I think that a lot of the GIS application obviously is already, we have a GIS system, so developing the application, that could be why it's a parenthetical. And some of these items may not require, but I see what you're referring to, a parenthetical dollar amounts. Everything I was reported was that the $10,000 budget was going to adequately cover the entire project. But we can certainly,
Is that okay with you, Mr. Mayor?
Well, it would be helpful to know the exact amounts or at least an approximation. So your understanding is what's the total amount? That
9995.
9.5 is
Yep.
the total amount, and those two, because during the anticipated duration, it includes all of the weeks. During the hours, it includes all of the hours. Hour columns including the parentheticals, but the costs do not. So I just want to make sure this isn't going to be costing us an additional $3,500 that we're not aware of.
And I thought the
The amount?
total number was, let me just check that. Yeah, no, they put it in the schedule on.
No, it's by approving the amount.
Let's see real quick.
I don't need practice, but
Sorry, every time I go to do this, I do some. Yeah, right, yeah, it is,
Madam Chair, discussion? While he's calculating out things. For those of you who've been on building committees in this town, like I was for EMS, this would save us about 100 hours at least, depending on what we did last time. And we were looking at territory that was like, there's no way you can put a building here. But just because it was 3 lots, we had to look at it. So it wasted a lot of time on the committee standpoint. So I applaud the effort to get it mapped and assessed for feasibility.
I was the shortest record on meeting. The shortest meeting. I would continue with the meeting, but I don't think it's better. It seems so.
If I may, Mr. Selectman, would there be a major issue if this were to be passed at our next meeting?
I don't know if it would, I don't think it would derail things. I think it was just a function of trying to get resources on board at MetroCog and moving forward. I should be able to, want to take a 5-minute recess. I can get an answer fairly quickly as to why.
Or do you want me to go on to the next one?
Or you could do that.
Well, so we'll go on to the next one. So legally, we're just gonna table this. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I may,
You know, so-
the next one, our charts have a very similar issue.
I saw the number.
Hey, you have yours,
Well, so let's take a 5-minute recess then? Okay, so let's just,
Thanks.
we'll reconvene at 8:30. Okay, so
Is that-
if you wanna look around, sync on by
If they didn't,
Yeah, well, we can go on to the
they
library
didn't,
one,
they didn't
yes.
put the cost
You know
into
what?
that one. I think that's, we were showing that there's no cost. I think that's probably what happened in this one, is that's supposed to be zeros, so it's,
Well, how about if I go on to the library one, because Mrs.
Yeah,
Rhines is
sure.
here. Okay, so I'm gonna go on to Technology and Information Services Assistant job description. I will introduce the following proposed job description and move for its adoption. This is a new proposed job description to replace certain part-time hours, all within the existing part-time library budget. Do I hear a second? By Mr. Condon. So, Mrs. Rhines, do you want to discuss this with us real quickly? You can come on up.
Do you want to move the library ahead, basically, and start doing more experiential learning programming and technology trainings for our patrons in the community? And in order to do that, we need to bring somebody in who's capable of that. The person that we bring in will not need to have a master's in library science, so that will be a savings for us in terms of dollars, and it will allow us to add some extra hours in. This new position will be part-time, and it will not encroach in any way upon the tasks or duties of any of our full-timers.
Okay, any questions?
I handed out a cover sheet in this regard, Ms. LaPellis. It just kind of bullet points the strategy behind this and showing how it is a budget neutral. Although it is a new position, it is budget neutral. So we're just taking hours from one part-time position and replacing with a different set of hours that incorporates this job.
I believe I got a second, right, Mr. Condon?
You did, but
Yeah.
did you make the motion?
Yes, I just made a
Yeah,
motion. I said-
You've got a second on that.
Yes. So are we all in favor of
Oh,
this?
wait.
What discussion?
No, you
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion?
I know that we're taking hours away. Do we see any possible loss of interest in the current job position due to the decreased hours and the decreased salary? Or is that something that doesn't seem to be a concern?
I don't, are you, the people that I have who are masters, who have MLSs, I don't think that it will affect their interest level at all. And I don't, and the people who I have in that position, those positions right now are not capable of this particular job. So I'm really looking for somebody who has a different set of qualifications from the people who I have there right now.
And just in follow-up to that, with the decreased hours, you fully expect the people in the master's position to be able to complete the task that you need them to complete
Yes.
as their position? Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor of this resolution, motion, description? Okay, so it's on 8-0. All righty.
Mr. Schleckman, if I may very quickly, I may have answered the question that we're trying to get an answer for. As you pointed out, in the other Schedule A, there's a specific notation.
I think he's getting an answer.
Oh, yeah, but go ahead.
There's a specific notation that there is no cost for the WebGIS, which is why that one has a 0. For
Right, I
these,
think
it
those
does say
amount-
MetroCog will provide the resources to complete this task. So is that to assume that they are eating the funds to pay for that task?
Yeah.
If so, that would make,
That would be my understanding, but I think the amounts shouldn't be a negative, they should just be 0, but that's what I'm trying to compare. Hey, Will, it's Ken. Hey, sorry, question for you on the GIS, the two GIS proposals. One of the schema and app development, they have the hours in parenthetical brackets.
And then we have one more.
And then they have,
Yeah, gotcha.
right, but then we have the cost as a negative. The cost should just be 0, correct? They're not giving us a credit back. In other words, okay, yeah. So it actually was. Yeah, the problem is, it's listed as, yeah,
Okay, survive 30 minutes?
right.
Who cares?
Okay, so those should,
It's 0.
right, that they're covering the costs, right. Okay, so those should just be zeros. That's what I thought. All right, thank you. All right, bye. Okay, so yeah, as I said, they are covering those two functions as well, but so I would say it would be appropriate to entertain a friendly amendment to change those two parenthetical dollar amounts to be zeros as they are in the other agreement, because that's what it shouldn't be netting, yeah. It wouldn't make sense to net out.
Oh,
So.
that's what it adds up to.
Okay, so we seconded this, we discussed it, are we up to voting on this?
As modified.
we have to amend.
to
Yes.
amend
So
the-
can someone, can you make the amendment change?
I move to approve the motion with the caveat that the Schedule A amounts under Activity 2 and Activity 3 costs be changed to $0 rather than their current entries.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. O'Rourke. Okay, all in favor of this amendment first? So that passes 8-0. And now the original resolution.
Yep.
We have a second, we have discussion already, so
Yep.
all in favor of the original? Passes 8-0. So going on to C, resolution regarding MetroCog Professional Services Agreement, GIS Services Parcel Updates. I will introduce the following resolution regarding MetroCog Professional Services Agreement for GIS Services associated with parcel mapping updates, and move for its adoption. Resolved that Kenneth M. Kellogg, First Selectman of the Town of Monroe, is authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the Town of Monroe the professional services agreement and any associated documents by and between MetroCog for the GIS services associated with parcel mapping updates. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Reed. Discussion?
So again, utilizing MetroCog for GIS, this is really housekeeping of our kind of base layer and parcel information. It's critically important as we're approaching a reval year to be current. We're a couple of years behind. It's something that the assessor's office absolutely needs to get current and updated. So this was included in the operating budget under IT.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of this motion? Passes 8-0. That takes care of new business. Do we have any public participation for the second time? Seeing no one, do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Reed. Second by Mr. O'Rourke. All in favor? 8-0.